Good morning, students. Welcome back. Students, last video we have completed our chapter, that is the change and development in industrial society. Today, some of the important questions I will discuss. It's a very important questions, that is how globalization, liberalization brought change in Indian industry. So for that questions, first of all, we have to know about globalization in depth. Students, I have already discussed about lots of globalization, its impact and its advantages, disadvantages, everything. So what we have seen? We have seen that India had significant link with the global world from the very early times. Very early time means before independence. We are also aware that Western capitalism, as it emerged in Europe, was both built upon and maintained by global control over resources to other countries, as in colonialism. So the important question is, however, whether globalization is just about global interconnections, or is it about some significant change in the capitalist system of production of technology and communication. And even if organization of labor and capital, like technological innovations and cultural experiences, way of governance and social movements also. These changes are significant even if some of the patterns were early evident in the early stage of capitalism. So, some of the changes, such as those flowing from the communication revolution, have in a rapid ways transformed the way we work and live. We seek to spell out some of the distinctive features of globalization, like the modern communication system, technology, and the different kinds of change, good change for society, all are the effects of globalization. Globalization refers to the growing independence between different people, regions, and countries in the world, as social and economic relationships come to stretch worldwide. Although economic forces are an integral part of globalization, it would be wrong to suggest that they alone produce it. It has been driven forward above all by the development of information and communication technologies that have intensified the speed and scope of interaction between people all over the world. Moreover, as we shall see, there was a political context within which it grew. Now let us look different dimensions of globalization to facilitate economic, political, cultural aspect separately. That is the different dimensions of globalization, economic dimensions. In India, we often use the term liberalization and globalization. Both the terms are correlated. If the globalization present, then the another thing, that is the liberalization, is related to globalization. They are indeed related but are not the same. In India, we have seen how the state decided to bring some changes in its economic policy in 1991. These changes are termed as liberalization policies. So students, liberalization is the fruits of globalization. Okay? First, the economic policy of liberalization, we have to know about it. Globalization involves a stretching of social and economic relationships throughout the world. This stretching is pushed by certain economic policies. Very broadly, this process in India is termed liberalization. So the term liberalism refers to a range of policy decisions that the Indian state took since 1991 to open up the Indian economy to the world market. This marked a break with an earlier stated policy of the government to have a greater control over its economy. The state, after independence, had put in place a large number of laws and ensured that the Indian market and Indian indigenous business were protected from competition of the wider world. So understood? Here also some roles of state. What the roles of state? The state also believed that the market alone would not be able to look after all the welfare of the people, particularly its disadvantaged sections. It felt that the state had an important role to play for the welfare of the people. You will recall that we have already learned or covered the chapter 3, that is how important the issues of social justice were for the makers of the Indian Constitution, right? So liberalism and the economy meant the steady removal of rules that regulated Indian trade and finance regulators. These measures are also described as economic reforms. Since 1991, the Indian economy has witnessed a series of reforms in all major sectors of economy. Like you know that the Green Revolution, that is agricultural sector, industry, trade, foreign investment and technology, public sector, financial institutions, etc. The basic assumption was that greater integration into the global market would be beneficial to Indian economy. So the process of liberalization also involved the taking of loans from international institutions such as the International Monetary Fund, IMF. These loans are given on certain conditions. The government make commitments to pursue certain kind of economic measures that involve a policy of structural adjustments. These adjustments usually mean cut in state expenditure on the social sector such as health, such as education and social security. There is also a greater say by international institutions such as the World Trade Organization WTO. In this way, the liberalization affected the Indian industry. Side by side, lots of other related points like the transnational corporations. Among the many economic factors driving globalization, the role of transnational corporations is particularly important. The transnational corporations are companies that produce goods or market services in more than one country. These may be relatively small firms with one or two factories outside the country in which they are based. So they also be a part of a industry or the local industry. Another thing that is the electronic economy. Globalization of finance, and most importantly the change of Indian industry. One point is very important, that is the global communications. Important and the advancement of technology and the world's telecommunications infrastructure has led to revolutionary change in global communication. Some homes and many offices now have multiple links to the outside world, including telephone, landlines and mobiles, fax machine, digital and cable television, electronic mail and the internet. Some of you may find many such places, some of you may not. This is indicative of what is often termed as the digital device in our country. Despite this digital device or digital work or as a forms of technology facilitate the industry to produce much more advanced products. This is also a fruits of globalization and change. So students, I hope you understood how the globalization and the liberalization affect Indian industry. And another very important point is coming out from the globalization and the liberalization. Such types of questions you have to also mention that globalization and a few international division of labor. Yes, division of labor. New international and the new mode of division of labor has emerged, in which more and more routine manufacturing production and employment is done in the third world countries. The division of labor helps industry to produce more specific or more advanced product within a very less time. So globalization helps the industry to produce more product and divide the work on the basis of capabilities. Another thing, that is globalization and employment. It's a very Another key issues regarding globalization and labor is the relationship between employment and globalization. For the middle class youth from urban cities or the urban center, globalization and the IT revolution has opened up new career opportunities. Instead of routinely picking up BA, BSc, BCom degree from colleges and universities. Now the students are learning computer languages at computer institutes or taking up jobs at call centers. Business process outsourcing BPO companies. They are working as scale person in shopping mall and different types of salesman, or maybe you can term it as salesperson in the shopping malls and the small companies, small industries, or picking up jobs at the various restaurants, various small organization, NGOs have opened up. So the different kinds of change we are seeing that the globalization and the liberalization affect the Indian industry. So students, that types of questions you can write it as point wise, otherwise you can write it as a para wise. First of all, you have to write about a small view or the main theme of the globalization and its impact and the areas of its and then the liberalization. First of all, you have to explain about the globalization, then you have to write the liberalization. In this way, you have to cover up the questions. Next question we will discuss, that is the question is what do you mean by a commercialization? What is the meaning of commercialization? Commercialization is the process of bringing new products or services to market. What does it mean? Commercialization is the process of bringing new products or services to the market. The broader act of commercialization entails production, distribution, marketing, sales, customer support, and other key functions critical to achieving the commercial success of the new product or service. That is known as the commercialization. Commercialization of research provides new products and services that can be used to solve some of life's most pressing problems, as well as marketing incremental improvements to the quality of life for consumers and business effectiveness across a wide variety of domains. So commercialization is a innovation, or it's a commercialization is a process that converts ideas, research, or prototypes into viable products and production system that retain the desired functionality while designing the product to be readily manufacturable at low cost and launched or implemented quickly with high quality design. That is known as the commercialization. Next important question is, what do you mean by decentralization? Decentralization. Students, all the terms like the commercialization, decentralizations, all are the related term of Indian industry. I have told already that what do you mean by the commercialization. Now decentralization means as a form of an organizational structure where there is the delegation of authority by the top management to the middle or lower level of management in an organization. Actually, these types of organization structure, the duty of daily operation and minor decision making capabilities are transferred to the middle and the lower level, which allow top level management to focus more on major decision like business expansion, like diversifications, etc. So decentralization refers to a form of organizational structure where there is the delegation of authority by the top management to the middle and lower level of management in an organization. That is known as the decentralization. Example of the decentralization, business like the hotel business, supermarket, dress, showrooms and etc. Because it is not possible for one person to focus more than 100 branches which have branches throughout the world. Take an example of hotel. When a particular person holds a chain of hotels as his business, he particularly focus on using decentralized structures so that the local hotel managers and the assistants are empowered to make on the spot decision and handle customers' problem, complaint and the requirements. That is known as decentralization. That's all for students. Next class I will discuss about any other topics like the home-based industry and the problems of the employer in Indian industry, like that. Thank you.